The sun hung low in the sky, painting the clouds in shades of gold and crimson. In a quiet corner of a city park, a man named Daniel sat on a bench, his face buried in his hands. He sighed deeply, lost in thoughts of stress and frustration. Desperate for clarity, Daniel wandered aimlessly until he found himself in a dense forest on the outskirts of the city. He had heard of a wise sage who meditated there, a man whose words had changed the lives of many. Daniel approached cautiously and saw an old, serene figure sitting beneath a large tree, eyes closed, lost in deep meditation. Daniel hesitated before speaking, but his frustration pushed him forward. "Master, I am overwhelmed. Life feels unfair, and I don't know how to deal with it. My job is stressful, relationships feel empty, and I wake up every day with a sense of dread. What should I do?" The sage slowly opened his eyes, a calm and knowing gaze meeting Daniel's troubled one. He gestured for Daniel to sit. The sage picked up a nearby cup and filled it with water. "Daniel, this cup represents your mind," he said. Then he pointed to a crack at the bottom. Water dripped steadily from the cup. "You keep filling your mind with new worries, but it is already leaking peace. If you never mend the crack, no amount of external success will bring you happiness." Daniel frowned. "How do I fix the crack?" The sage reached for a large rock and handed it to Daniel. "Hold this." Daniel took the rock and held it in both hands. "Now imagine this rock represents all your worries, your job, relationships, regrets, and fears." Daniel nodded, feeling the weight of the stone. "Now hold it for 5 minutes, then an hour, then a whole day." Daniel's arms already ached. He frowned. "I can't hold it forever. It's too heavy." The sage smiled. "Exactly. If you don't let go of the rock, the burden only grows. The same is true for worries. You don't have to hold on to every thought that enters your mind." The sage then pointed to a small stream flowing nearby. "Imagine your worries as leaves floating on this water. Watch them come and go, but do not grab onto them." Daniel watched the flowing water, feeling a strange sense of ease. The sage spoke again. "Your suffering comes from attachment to thoughts, expectations, and desires, but peace comes from living fully in the present moment." Daniel looked down at his hands, where he had unknowingly clenched his fists. Slowly, he released them, as if physically letting go of the burden. For the first time in weeks, Daniel smiled. "I understand now. I have been carrying my worries as if they define me, but I have the power to let them go." The sage nodded. "Yes, and every moment is a chance to begin again." Daniel stood up, feeling lighter than before. He bowed to the sage and walked back toward the city, carrying with him a new perspective. The world had not changed, but he had, and that was enough.